the high plains of the Midwest, I bid you good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, whatever your time zone might be. My nod to the late and great Art Bell. I'm Keith Sharp.
And I'm G. Dressel.
And we welcome you to Life After Life, a paranormal webcast where we talk about the paranormal, UFOs, or the unexplained. And the biggest question of them all, what happens when we die? Stay tuned. Oh, hang on just a second there.
What are you doing?
Been a while. Boom. There we are. Hey, how is everybody doing tonight? Thank you for showing up. And I'm still having some technical problems here.
Surprise.
Yeah, I know that's kind of our staple, isn't it? But anyway, Garrett, how's your week going, man?
Good, busy.
I know, so busy that you won't return my phone calls.
Well, I've had sick kids.
I know. There's no.
Actually, when you were Cleo had my phone last night, by the way.
I know.
She had a super bad fever.
So Cleo swallowed a penny
God,
a few weeks ago, and Garrett sends us the X-ray from the ER, and sure enough, there's a penny in her stomach.
It's just been one thing after another with that kid.
Yeah, bless her heart. But she did pass that, I guess, right? And now she's sick with a virus or something, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's horrible.
Well, that penny was probably dirty.
Yeah, dirty penny.
Yeah, think.
That was disgusting. Pam, how's your week going?
I'm here.
You're here?
Yeah, we're so glad to have you.
Yeah, she's working like 7 days a week, 24/7 almost.
Not quite that much, but
it seems
feels like it.
I never, yeah. Every time I look over in the bed, you're gone. That sounded bad, didn't it?
It sounded bad. Well, Keith, how's your week going?
My week's fine. It's been busy, hectic. I've been super excited because we got the great Carl Johnson on.
I literally have never received a text message with so many exclamation points.
Yeah. This is well. I mean, I've been watching Carl and Keith since I think it was 2004 when Ghost Hunters first came on. And I think I've watched everything he's been in, but
right,
just really cool. So let's
do it.
Without further ado,
so excited.
He's an author. He's been on many television shows, and here he is, the great Carl Johnson. Hello, Carl. How are you?
Hello. Fairly well as things go.
Great. So, is Ghost Hunters coming back on, or do you know? I heard something about, first Grant got it back, and now Grant doesn't have it. Jason Hawes has it back. I don't know if you've heard the story.
I have.
Yeah. So, I don't know if there's something going on. I mean, we won't get into.
There's always something going on there in that camp. Yep.
Yeah. All I remember is, dude, run.
I was there for that. I was 2 yards away when that happened. I was in that episode. I was 2 yards away when that transpired.
Were you just?
Oh yeah, that was real.
Yeah. Were you just shaking your head when Brian did that? Dude, have you seen that episode? Yeah. In fact, they started making T-shirts and hats that say "Dude, run" on them. But yeah, that was funny.
Well, that was a colleague of mine. He got a dressing down for that. You've seen, I'm sure, footage of recruits being reprimanded in the Army or the Marine Corps,
right?
Boot camp. Break them down to build them up.
Yeah.
Well, that's got nothing on what I saw that night. He was severely reprimanded. I couldn't see it. I'm talking about saliva spraying and finger in the face.
Yeah.
He was spoken to about that.
Yeah, Jason. I mean, it seemed like every episode Brian would forget a camera, a cable, or something like that. Yeah. And like every episode was just him. Oh man, our door just opened.
The clown prince.
Yeah, exactly. It's funny, Carl, because right before you came on, I just changed the battery in the clock in the bathroom, and it stopped. Now it's not running.
Now you know I'm here.
Now I know. Yeah. Or they know you're here and they're scared.
It was great.
You got something here. Prop myself up a little bit.
Sure.
Should I be burning the sage? Do you think you should be burning?
Yeah,
sage
burning it. I should be burning sage. Well, I always wonder. I mean, and that's one question I'll go ahead and ask you real quick, Carl. I mean, can even talking about this subject, can that attract spirits, or are we pretty safe? I hope you say we're safe.
Well, I feel safe. I mean, I've wondered about that, if there are repercussions from speaking about spiritual matters of a darker element. ostensibly I say no, and if there's karma, we bring that on ourselves with, by our own mindsets. But I really had some things, strange reversals. When I was on the pinnacle of achieving something I wanted to, it seems like something reversed it. And you look back on it, you can't tell if it's just causal and chance, but you wonder,
Right.
have to wonder.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I like clock stopping. That's happened when I've walked in. You know what else happens when I come into a room? Ouija boards, spirit boards stop working.
Really?
I don't know why. I mean, the
I
whole
do.
process of using a spirit board is very subjective anyway. It's a play, but
Sure.
maybe that's why. But they just stop.
Yeah,
for
because
some
the,
reason.
the spirit's like going, oh shit, Carl's here.
Carl's
Oh,
That means he's going to cast me
I
out of
don't-
here.
I don't want to exaggerate my prowess in those matters, but I don't know. They recognize me somehow.
Yeah, you scare
But I've
evil.
always had that. I've always had strange things happen when I'm around. I mean, I'm used to it almost.
Yeah,
It's exciting every time.
You and Keith started young, 17,
Yeah.
wasn't it? Wow. I
Well,
was just riding a skateboard when I was.
we were starting to investigate paranormal happenings. We didn't call it that. Back then, we called it the supernatural.
Mhm.
Nowadays, I equate the term supernatural with impossible, and I prefer preternatural, a little bit above the norm.
Yep.
We started when we were 16 years of age, and
Wow.
we were crystallizing at that time our philosophies, our life philosophies. And so, we were outright paranormal investigators by the age of 17.
Yeah, that's impressive. I mean, I would have been
For
scared to
decades
death.
behind that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's okay. So, Carl, tell us about what got you interested in demonology.
Oh, it seemed to find me. My first residential case was not demonic, but it had some strange leanings toward it. We, might have thought it was demonic. Somebody certainly thought it was demonic back then. And that was a house in Harrisville, Rhode Island, Round Top Farm, better known these days as the Conjuring house.
Yes.
And we were in there. My team and I, we would, not that I was the director of our team, but I was taken to be. We were the first investigating team at that house ever. And it was, as we'll get into later, our team contacted Ed and Lorraine Warren, whom we knew at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So, but Mrs. Warren had a vision in that house, and she deemed the house demonic, a demonic haunt. And there was no going back from that. Once she planted that seed, and people
Right.
believed it was demonic, it, essentially became that. You couldn't get away from it. Now, our team, even though we were quite young, I was 18 at the time. We were trying to conduct a scientific investigation with measurements and documenting. And when the Warrens took over that case, which we did not expect, it went from being an investigation to an intercession, if you get my meaning.
Yeah.
It stopped being objectively approached.
Right.
Interesting time back then.
Yeah, I mean, I read that and I was thinking this case, it's always been associated with Ed and Lorraine, and it should have been Keith and Carl. When it come right
I think
down
we
to
should have
it.
received honorable mention. Yes.
Absolutely. And didn't you say something about? I saw in another interview that they were actually going to make a part for you, but you said no, I don't want any part of that.
Oh, where did you find that? That's absolutely true. That's
I got
Yeah.
my connections.
Keith knows his stuff.
Yeah.
They were going to have a part for me, all right, but they say there's no such thing as bad press, bad publicity.
Oh, that's not true.
From what I heard, this was going to be bad. I actually had to place an action to stop it.
Wow.
Kind of say, don't do this, don't go there, because I don't know if they would have kept that in, but if I had been portrayed as I heard I was going to, and they could have changed one letter in my name, like spelt my name with a K instead of a C.
Right.
Carl F instead of Carl L. Johnson, Carl Johnston.
Right.
Who knows what
Yeah.
they could have done? It would have leaned toward me. I would have spent the rest of my career in the paranormal explaining that no, that's fiction. That I never did that never happened. To the one person, the janitor in the audience,
Right.
one and the custodian and the person with the keys closing up in the lecture hall. Those would be my audience. If it had gone through. So I just had to safeguard myself at the time.
So they decided not to put you in there then.
Yeah, this was 2013. So if I had to do over again, I might have just let it happen, roll with it, and see if they really did have the audacity to put me up there. But once it's out there, you can't take it back.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, it's there
I don't know.
forever.
It would
So,
have been fun to see.
yeah, yeah. Well,
To
maybe.
put it as Basil Rathbone said in the movie Son of Frankenstein, both famous and infamous.
Exactly.
But I had it on very good authority that was going to happen, and names of people in the conference room who were talking about it. So I didn't have time to think about it. I had to act and just sent out. I actually issued a writ of cease and desist, and I worded it politely enough, but I said, please don't portray me. Should I find myself unfavorably portrayed even by inference, I'll need to take action. I had to do that.
Right.
I don't know. Would have been fun to see what they did.
Yeah.
Drag my name through the mud.
Nah, that's
I
not
can do
cool.
that on my own.
So, Carl, I got a question for you here. Well, I guess several actually. Do you find that some of the subjects who claim to be possessed are mentally ill, and can mental illness also play a role for a demon to target someone?
Well, it's a long or short answer. We've got an hour to an hour and a half.
Yeah.
Yes, it can. Now, rightfully, ostensibly, there should be rules against that people who are infirm or unstable mentally, they should, have some kind of spiritual protection, should not be allowed. But apparently, that's a magnet for some of these, if you will, entities and forces. And I have my own theories from whence they come. But yeah, if somebody's going through an emotional turmoil, or they're unsettled, unbalanced psychologically, yeah, it brings them in.
That is strange. Yeah,
if somebody's going through a crisis in their life, they're vulnerable. It shouldn't be that way, but yeah.
Yeah, I don't get that at all either, because it's like I know a female who was horribly sexually abused, and then she started having all these crazy visions, and almost psychic stuff. But I've seen that more than once, with something traumatic happening, and then it's they start having these horrible nightmares and things of that nature.
Well, in an overall sense, it's an impersonal force. It may become personified, but in its rudiments, these forces, these entities, are just there, and they're looking for egress, and they surface under times of great stress. In fact, I've never approached what we adjudicated as a demonic case, inhuman, let's say. I never had one that didn't have some psychological leaning, some abnormality in it, or anomaly.
Which would make it kind of
to have it be a demonic oppression. I found there always has to be. This is in my experience, my opinion, of course. There has to be some kind of background trauma, some seriously unresolved conflict. Something went wrong in someone's past. It's been suppressed. It becomes projected and personified. That's how it comes out as the demon. There has to be an invitation. That invitation, it may not sound like one, but if somebody has been haphazardly experimenting with occult practices, or just something went wrong and they're just denying it, won't face the issue, that creates a lodestone within the mind, and it has to come out somehow. Some people just withdraw and become quiet, but generally it has to be expressed, and sometimes that engenders the haunting. That turns out synthesizes a demonic haunt, creates it. It's a complex process, I'm sure.
What exactly is a demon, in your opinion?
I have several definitions. My very basic definition of a demon is a poltergeist with a really lousy attitude. That's one. My definition of demonology, I am a demonologist or thonicist, you could say too, studies underworld spirits, like some of the classic ones. My definition of demonology is the systematic study of the lore and cultural traditions of wicked spirits. Which leaves a lot of room for definition.
Right.
So a demon is thought to be like a hostile force that preys upon human beings and warring against the human race. Different interpretations. The most classic interpretation is the Christian lore, the Christian view that these are angels, fallen angels that were cast out of heaven in the Great Revolt. There was supposedly this Great Revolt. Lucifer uprose against Jehovah God, was cast into the nether regions, thrown out of heaven. And those angels, which is supposedly 1/3 of the heavenly host, so we don't know what that number was or is, 1/3 of the heavenly hosts were cast out of heaven, the heavenly realms, down to the nether regions, down below, wherever that is. And we think of demons as inhabiting sulfurous subterranean caverns, and they surface to prey upon the souls of humankind. And it's
Right. Take them
very
to hell.
prosaic and very dramatic that way. And who's to say it's not? I have different ideas about it, really.
Yeah.
I think demons come from within us. Now, what's the best place to hide? Some demons are recalcitrant. They hide away. They don't like to be revealed. They don't like to be talked about, and they don't like to be photographed or shown. They don't like to be proven to be real. And what's the best place to hide something? Out in the open, in the obvious. So I think they are within our own minds, and they become personified. Probably, if you could take every demon that ever existed, if you want to call it existence, you could fit it on the head of a pin, fit them all on the head of a pin.
Right.
We think in more, loud terms. We think of them being these almost reptilian creatures. And sometimes they manifest that way. When you see a demon, it's usually pretty darn ugly and frightening, unsettling. But the truth is we really don't know from whence they come or what their origin is. I don't think they predate the human race. I don't think they were lying in wait for the human race to emerge, so they can torment us and steal our souls.
So we can mentally just manifest these then.
Yeah, I think that's where they come from. They are manifest by the human mind. I'm not saying that they are illusional. Well, yeah, they do. Their main strength is illusion. But I'm not saying they're hallucinations. I'm not saying they're made up. They take on a life. They become real, and that's just as potent as a supernatural portrayal of a demon.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's exactly the way I believe. I got a friend named Lewis Charles. He wrote a book called Helping Ghosts, and he doesn't believe in demons per se. He thinks it's just pissed off human spirits that are just manifesting in these crazy monster looking things. And
the human psyche has a lot of negativity. Look at human history, how people prey upon each other.
Yeah.
And
it's always easy to blame the devil.
Yeah. Now, if you've got some unseen force, which does happen, it's very real. I've observed it, throwing things around, people are suddenly, their personalities are altering. They're getting agitated. There's no peace in the house. The couple is quarreling. The children are all agitated. And things are flying around the room. It's hard to say that's not what you could call a classic demon, because it does seem demonic, but it's hostile. I prefer terms like malevolence, hostility, influence mostly.
Right.
But we don't have scientific nomenclature to work with. We got demons and spirits and ghosts and devils. That's what we call these things, because what else are you going to call them? Non-corporeal manifestations, something like that.
So you're a demonic psychologist.
Yeah, I tend to make up my own words too when I can't find one that fits.
So when you go into a case like that, so to you, is it like, I'm trying to find the word. Let's see. I'm getting so stuck here. We'll move on.
I'll help you along. Help me.
So why do some spirits return after you cast them out? You always, like, especially when I watch The Haunting, like sometimes they'll say, and 3 months later, the spirit returned. Is that somebody you think inviting them back or playing with a Ouija board or?
Well, I'll give you the standard demonologist, and there is such a thing as a standard demonologist answer. That is because they do not easily surrender their foothold. They will lie in wait for an opportunity to spring back and start tormenting, and they'll look for any weakness in their human subjects. Possibly a more realistic explanation is that the person dreads it. The person who was affected or somebody who's heard about it dreads this thing coming back. I don't want all this chaos back in my life. It's like a disease, like a virus. You dread it.
Yeah.
And then anything that happens reinforces that. the coffee cup slides off the table. You hear raps on the walls. Oh
For
God,
sure.
it's back.
Yes.
And maybe it is. In my experience, it usually does come back in some form. Rarely is the person totally cured of it because they've got that structure in their minds. They've got that concept that it's going to come back to plague them. That it's like that.
Well, and going back to what you said too, these things can manifest. So if you have that thought and that preconceived notion that's embedded in your head, like you said, if the coffee cup all of a sudden falls off the table, it's just compounding and it begins to manifest in that way, right? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, because it reinforces like, oh God, it's back.
Yeah.
It's like that line from Poltergeist. The little girl says, "Yeah, please, no more." And it starts up again.
Right.
Because that was an extreme case there that was portrayed. But I'll give you an impression. This is like it's a conglomerate of things I've heard. And these people are in genuine distress. I don't mean to make fun, but one thing I've heard is, well, I put the salt shaker on the kitchen table. I went out to get something. When I came back into the kitchen, it was on the other side of the table. We can't live like this. We can't go on like this. I'm thinking, I kind of like when stuff like that happens to me, not to deride them, but it's different when you're living with it. But, I always grooved on that thing when something like that happens, when you hear the knocks on the door, you close the cupboard door and you're looking, there's nothing wrong with it, but it's suddenly open. And then the other one opens. It's like, oh, goody, got something to talk about. Well, I worked in a haunted setting for 14 years in old Slater Mills site in Pawtucket, Rhode Island, the campus in Pawtucket. It's the seat of the American Industrial Revolution, and it's far more interesting because of its history than its haunting. But it is a haunted place. It was acquired by the National Park Service, so I'm not employed there anymore. But I was genuinely haunted. Yeah, most days were business as usual, but sometimes giving a tour to visitors, we'd all hear the disembodied voices talking amongst themselves, or see an object move across the floor, or an antique machine on display would turn itself on. Things like that would happen.
Wow.
While
was
you
gold,
While you were showing people?
While we were showing people, yeah. I mean, I'm sure it happened other times, when I wasn't there.
Right.
But yeah, during a tour, it's
that's fascinating.
Oh, that was gold. I'd act casual about it, but I'm like,
yeah.
Oh, sure. We'd have you had the footsteps going up and down the stairs. One guest saw a little boy, barefoot boy, which the children used to work barefoot in those mills in the 19th century. Ran by, a little boy ran by. She was the weaving class, and she asked about the little boy. I said, "Oh, okay, you saw him too." I mean, I haven't seen him, but he's been photographed.
Wow.
And, yes.
Do you think that's like residual energy, or is that
something that's replayed?
Yeah,
because
something
we'd hear
like
them talking amongst themselves. Couldn't usually make out the words they were saying, but you distinctly hear two male voices or a woman weeping.
Yeah.
You'd hear a conversation going. One time I was giving a tour, and it was about 6 years ago, and we heard two men speaking, men's voices. And I actually stopped what I was saying, relating the history of the building. And then I started up again. A minute later, the voice is, our guests are looking around. And I had to say something. So I said, officially at that time, we weren't supposed to acknowledge that it was haunted. But I said, folks, you almost get used to it. But inside, I'm just thrilled to pieces. Obviously, I remember it still.
Yeah, that's cool. I mean, as long as it's nothing harming anybody, and it's just sliding
No,
something to
they weren't harmful. It's being startled. It's the element of the unexpected. We had a lady, Susie, who was given the weaving class upstairs, and she would. I remember they said, Susie wants to talk to you one Wednesday. She gave the class on Tuesday night, so it was a Wednesday morning. Said, Susie wants to talk to you. I said, uh-oh. She wasn't a full-time employee there, but she gave the class there. And she went, you, stop bringing in those things. I'm not going to teach you anymore if you bring those things in. I don't do it. They were here before me. I've heard. But of course, I'm all thrilled by that.
Right.
And like
Right.
most days, you just go about your business. But if you put it all together, everything I experienced in those 14 years of wow, that's mega haunted, that place. You're lucky to work there. Yeah, sometimes. Then you go a couple of months, and sometimes like over the winter, it was like 3 months, and I wasn't there as much, and I just didn't notice anything happen. So, wow, guess the haunting here is dried up. Then it would strike again when more people were coming in, feeding it somehow,
Right.
feeding its energy.
Yeah. Do you find that? I mean, like, it seems like a lot of people, some ghost hunters, not all, but it's like anytime there's a haunting, it's automatically demonic. It's it's an evil spirit. Um, do you find that to be the case in a lot of times when you're doing investigations when it's actually pretty harmless?
Frequently, yeah.
Yeah.
Usually, because a haunting is usually when it's in one's home, one's abode. It's inconvenient. It's scary.
Hmm.
You don't know
Yeah.
what's going to happen next. So, and then anything that happens, if the person meets with some mishap, like backs into the fire hydrant, or just is feeling, and sometimes it is related when they're feeling ill at ease, kind of feeling unwell.
Yeah.
That's natural to jump to the demon, and then they'll get a psychic medium to come in and assess. They're looking for help. They're looking for answers.
Right.
And it's like, I have 3 demons after me. The master one controls the other 2, and they're after me. And now there's a little girl after me. How can you know? You don't know. Maybe.
Yeah.
Probably not.
Yeah, I hope not. I mean, that's very
Yeah.
common with a lot of the ghost shows you watch now. There's one in particular I won't name, but it's like there's always one master demon, and they've got these 2 souls trapped, and they're not letting them cross over to the light. They're trapping these people here.
Yeah, I shouldn't
And
say anything. I've been on that show.
okay, yeah, you know exactly who I'm talking or what I'm talking about.
And I'm not saying that it's fabricated. I'm just saying that
Well,
it's
no, I
fun.
think they probably
Exciting.
honestly believe that.
Yep.
But
It's an interpretation of a different kind of reality.
right,
I don't think you can
absolutely.
be that specific about it. I've had difficulty working with psychic mediums. I mean, I'm not saying some of them aren't genuinely talented. I know they are.
Mhm.
However, if somebody has a few lucky guesses, or they genuinely receive some information psychically, then it is established in their minds that they have the gift. So any impression they get is the gift. I'm the one who channels. I'm the one who has this gift. So I'm interpreting it for those who do not have the gift.
Right.
An example would be when I was in 3rd grade, the visiting art teacher came in and had us open our desk and take out our manila paper and a crayon. She said, draw someone. And we said, well, draw someone? Draw somebody. Who should we draw? Whatever you decide, whatever you do is right. You draw somebody. So I drew an astronaut. Somebody else comes out with a Native American, an Indian. Somebody just drew cobwebs because he wasn't too artistically gifted, But everybody came up with something different. Cobwebs are easy,
Yeah.
and but that's whatever popped into my mind. Now, if I was a psychically gifted child, then okay, it wouldn't be an astronaut, but you'd expect to see an Indian in the corner,
Right.
or some tall, dark man. It pops into my head. But I don't
Mhm.
think I'm psychic. Well, I do have some psychic abilities, but I can't shut them on and off. But I think it becomes too real to many people. It ceases to be an objective experience. Now I
Right.
sound like I'm bashing mediums and psychics. I'm not. I've had some remarkable results with them.
No, but
I
I
used to
mean,
be kind of mean to them when I was a member of TAPS, the Atlantic Paranormal Society. Yeah, I was not too kind to them back then. The
well, it is
psychics.
like you said. I think it's everybody's interpretation.
Yes, it is.
And like you said earlier too, is suggesting, oh, this is a demon, this is a shadow person, and so therefore everybody believes with what they're saying, and so
Well, we're always trying to
therefore
make
it
sense out
is.
of it. Yeah, aren't
Yeah.
we? We're always trying to make sense out of it, get some definitions there,
Right.
categorize shadow person, demon, human spirit, poltergeist. On the top of my list is the poltergeist because I think it creates the other things. But then you
Yeah.
get
That's
into
it.
the aliens and space aliens, and gee, we just don't know.
Right. Right. Okay, let's get back to the Perrin family, the
Sure.
Conjuring. That's a lot of my viewers want to talk about that. you and Keith were contacted by them. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, I'll go ahead and let you tell how that happened. You were
I'm like,
Pyro?
to tell the truth, yes.
Okay.
No, Bill, yes. Pyro. Boy, you must have read some background on me, yeah.
I know about you, Carl.
God,
Super fan.
I'm a super fan.
maybe they did include me in that movie, and they just edited it in later. You know?
That was
Thank
in
you,
our
thank you
reality.
very much.
Not yours.
I appreciate that.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome.
Confidence in me. Yes, I was a member of a group established at Rhode Island College under the aegis of Rhode Island College in Providence called Pyro. I didn't name it, but I gave us a neat logo. I put it on all our notebooks.
Right.
That was Parapsychological Investigatory and Research Organization. Now, back 40 years ago, we weren't saying paranormal. It just wasn't in our lingo. We were saying parapsychology. And that's kind of a trend going back to that now. So Parapsychological Investigatory and Research Organization, PIRO. So what I came up with is I had letters in these two black letters in the two characters, these two triangles, adjacent to each other. It was the Greek letters pi and rho.
Awesome.
And I put it on all our notebooks, and I thought that was pretty darn cool.
That is cool.
Give us some status. But what we were doing is we were investigating exterior cases, like going to settings, not residential, cases. We wanted to investigate people's haunted houses. To that effect, my brother placed an ad in a local periodical, the North County Observer, and that was his brainchild. 3 weeks to the day afterwards, we were contacted by a Mrs. Carolyn Perrin, who resided in Harrisville, Rhode Island. She and her husband, Roger, had lived in this farmhouse for nearly 2 years, and they had strange things going on. And they wanted it evaluated. Mrs. Perrin came to the college, and we interviewed her, and she asked us to come over to her house, and we were happy to do so. Now, how I became involved in Pyro is in April of 1972, I attended a lecture presented in Roberts Hall at Rhode Island College, presented by Ed and Lorraine Warren. I'd heard of the Warrens. Oh, ghost hunters.
Yeah.
That's before Ed was being billed a demonologist. They were the ghost hunting couple, and Lorraine was the clairvoyant. So I couldn't wait to go see these guys. And listening to Ed and Lorraine Warren, I said to myself, that's what I want to be when I grow up.
Right.
They look like it's scary, it's spooky, they take it seriously, but it looks like they're having a darn good time doing it. And I actually became part of the lecture, which I hadn't expected. My brother was there too. And Ed Warren says, he's talking, and he goes, what a strong voice he had. He was a presence. He was a force to be raised. He was a force of nature, Ed Warren. So has anybody out there ever seen a ghost? So I'm like, yeah. Has anyone ever tried to contact a spirit? A few people, me too. Has anyone ever done a magic ritual? So they said, come up here, young man.
Oh boy.
I don't know what I'm going to say. I don't know what he's going to ask me. He kind of skewered me up there, but it was fun. And then a young lady came up there too. She had raised her hands to several of those questions. So, but I became kind of part of the lecture. And after that, and I actually got applause, when I stepped down, they applauded for me,
Awesome.
Well, I was well spoken. I was kind of good looking back then,
You're still very handsome.
Thank you. Oh, you should have seen me back
Don't
then.
be creepy.
And I was dressed well too. And I just, I always had the deep voice and could project, So then afterwards, these students, part of the student body surrounded me. A lot of girls did too back then. I said, "Ooh, I'm suddenly popular." And, but some of these students were members of a group established at the college called Pyro. And they were so sincere, they'd say, listen, would you consider coming to our next meeting? Can you do that? I said, sure will. And so I went to the Pyro meeting, and it was so nice to sit down with a group of people and talk about this, because back in my brother's and my hometown, North Scituate, Rhode Island, if you had any belief in ghosts or any interest in those subjects, you were ostracized.
Yeah.
I mean, serious. It was like the Andy Griffith Show without the laugh track. You know, and I had already brought in books on the paranormal, the supernatural by Hill and Williams, and so I already had a bad reputation. I was a weird Boy Scout, and really, it was that to the level where I would walk down Main Street, the village, the Situate Village, and I'd see window blinds closing.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh God, what have I got myself into? All I said was, I'm interested in ghosts. Hi. And
Say hi.
you have an apparition there.
I do.
I see it. No, it's my sight. I don't know if anybody else sees this. I just gonna go with it. I see a child,
Carl, there's no one behind me.
Yeah, what are
a
you
pretty
talking
child. She's a moppet. She's from the 18th century. How close am I? Yeah.
that's pretty close.
Yeah.
This is my granddaughter.
Oh, hi there.
Say hi. She can't hear you about the headphones. But,
Okay. Even when I talk loud.
He said hi and okay.
yeah, he did say hi. Okay.
Okay.
Go run along.
Kayla's not doing her job.
Okay. I'm sorry.
Oh, I had to mention. No, I had to mention. I had to make it part of the show.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Okay, getting back to I was kind of anti-popular. I would have people come to me and ask me, "Are there ghosts in your house? Tell me about it." They were fascinated, but I had a bad reputation with the parents. You know, keep away from him. Keep away from those boys, those twins. My brother was innocent. You know, I'm the one who stirred this up and started talking about the ghost. And so to go to this college and be invited to a forum where they actually discuss such matters and research them, study them, I was like, wow, I'm not alone anymore. So we went to we had interesting experiences with exterior cases, you know, UFO hunting and looking at the ruins of a burnt down haunted chapel where we heard organ music issuing from there. But then my brother placed an ad so we could attract residents, people with houses we could come to. And the first one was Roger and Carolyn Perrin. And Carolyn contacted us first. Now, what I didn't know at the time was after that first visitation, that Carolyn would be calling me every day, several times a day, to report the activity in her house. See, Carolyn, Mrs. Perrin, thought I was the leader of Pyro, and I wasn't. We had a case manager, Donna.
Mm-hmm.
But because I have kind of a deep, authoritative voice, and I seemed to know what I was talking about, I was giving directives.
Right.
Like, let's try recording over here. Let's do this, that. You know, lay back here, take some photos. So naturally, she thought I was the director, and she could confide in me, and she did. We had some very good conversation. We became friends. Then things changed because we brought in Ed and Lorraine Warren.
Mm.
Now, I forget whose idea it was, whether it was Donna's or Keith's or mine. I have a hunch it was my brother's. He's pretty innovative. Now, let's contact Ed and Lorraine Warren, because we know them well now, or fairly well, and they had dinner over at my parents' house. That's my single best memory of the Warrens, them having dinner at my parents' house.
Wow.
Because they hit it off. My father, that's where I get my sense of humor from. He was very, very funny guy. And I remember Ed with a mouthful of cream corn. He loved his cream corn. He was saying, "What's that you say, Len?" And my mother and Lorraine were the same age, within a year of each other. And she's looking at my mother's tchotchkes and knickknacks and sewings. And it was just a nice night having the Warrens over.
Yeah.
So because I knew them that well, we invited them to come to the house. So I thought we could benefit from Ed and Lorraine Warren's vast experience. It's not that we were in over our heads, quite the contrary. Just thought it would be a nice professional touch and instill confidence in the people, the parents that we were trying to assist. So Ed invited himself over, Mr. Warren. He asked for, do you mind if we come and check out, I said, well, of course I'll have to consult the homeowners, but I think they'll be inspired to have you over. I've told them about you. So the Warrens did come over. And I remember greeting Ed and Lorraine Warren at the driveway and helping to show them around. Now, in many, much later years, like 4 decades later, Lorraine Warren was quoted as saying, "We were the only paranormal investigators in that house at that time.
Right.
Mrs. Warren also said, that movie is as true to life as any movie could be.
Yeah.
But there's photographic proof that we were there and investigating and all that. That was all well and good. I said, now we're really getting someplace. Now we're actually investigating with the Warrens. How prestigious.
Right.
This is really going to go places. But the next day I didn't get my call from Mrs. Perrin. I thought she'd call me up and say, hey, wow, what a good experience. I called her, but didn't pick up. And after a few days, yep, there we go.
There
That's
you
the
are.
part.
A young
There's
Carl there.
Yep,
right
the
next to
beautiful and
Lorraine.
elegant Lorraine Warren in the center.
Yep.
You see a
Yep.
very young Carl.
Yep.
Actually, at first I thought that was my twin brother, but it's me, because Donna, our case manager, has her arm around my waist. I can see her hand, so that's me.
Ah,
She was my lady friend at the time.
I see.
And Mrs. Perrin is kind of washed out, but she's in the forefront giving the tour of the house. They're in the basement there. The basement looks just the same now. And so I didn't hear from Carolyn Perrin for the next 16 days. Pyro had a meeting at the college, and we determined or guessed that either they're really into this and it's become a very serious investigation. They're trying to help the parents, or they've solved the problem, eradicated the haunting. And in any event, we seem to be out of it. Okay,
Right.
16 days after that, Carolyn Perrin did call me. She apologized for having been out of touch. She told me that Ed and Lorraine Warren told them that they could be of no help to them, no help to the Perrin family, unless they were the sole investigators there. They had to work alone or, with each other, that we were just a bunch of college kids and we would get in the way.
Wow.
Okay. Now, it's just that the Warrens and Pyro had different methodologies. We were documenting, we were filming as good as we could with our limited equipment, taking Polaroid pictures and things. And the Warrens, it became an intercession. Clear out the demon witch, Bathsheba Sherman. So whatever, whoever was right and whoever was wrong, I think both parties had their points, but we were out of that investigation from then on. Now, I don't have any rancor about it. So long ago anyway. And
But at the time, that had to really disappointed you, I would think.
It was disappointing because we were finally getting a residential case. I probably felt more about it than I remember now. But Donna Neufeld, she was our case manager, the pretty young lady you saw. She's still embittered about that. She will say, I'm sorry they're gone, but I could never forgive Ed and Lorraine for taking our case.
Yeah.
And there's some justification to that.
Well, there is. You guys should have been associated with that case. I mean, that's all we hear is Ed and Lorraine.
It could only have helped, because here you got this charismatic set of twins here. The good twin and the bad twin, kind of. Well, my brother was more of an angelologist back then. I was always more interested in the darker side of things. But the contrast, I think, were interesting. We were very similar. In fact, when there's a less than true account of how we first met the parents. The story that you'll find in a certain book was that our van pulled up unannounced, that we gave no indication we were coming over there. Our van pulled up and we got out, started taking out our equipment and said, we heard your house is haunted. Well, in fact, we never had a van. The college would never have sprung for that. We had been invited over by Mrs. Perrin and Mr. Perrin.
Right.
And we were very welcome. So it wasn't quite like portrayed. And you don't even see us at all in the motion picture version. Now, when my brother came out of the car, I think we had two cars that we used. My brother then was equally handsome to me. He had long blonde hair. He was landscaping, so his hair was bleached blonde and long blonde hair parted in the middle. He was wearing a white muslin shirt, carrying a Bible. So one of the Perrin daughters, they had 5 daughters. Nancy looks out of the window, sees Keith out there and says, Mom, Jesus is here. So we hit it off right away with the parents. And I just had a special rapport with Mrs. Perrin. We spoke well together. I was funny and affable and was serious about what I was doing. So, it was good. And then it just stopped. that hurt because it was just such a quick cessation. We,
Yeah.
all of a sudden we don't know these people anymore. These are our clients.
Right.
We're learning, we're helping, and suddenly it's gone. We've got to find someone else.
Yeah, and you became friends with them as well.
Yes.
So
Now,
So-
my brother had been in touch with them, in contact with them through the years. I just, through no intention, I just lost touch with Roger and Carolyn Perrin and the girls.
right. So
And
Carl,
they're stirring about a movie being made,
yeah,
which
yeah.
was.
Yeah, I watched that again last night, and I thought this is so over exaggerated.
Oh, of course it is. Now,
I mean,
my
people
brother,
getting swung around the room, pulled by their hair.
well, you got to have special. They
going-
use that formula you see a lot in the horror films, especially
Did
the
you
true to
feel
life ones.
anything malevolent when you went there? When you walked in that house, did you feel
Not
any-
malevolent, strange.
just strange?
I felt like there was a big eye trained at us. Like I felt watched, and like something's aware of us here. Something strange knows we're here. Now, I have since decided that a building, a structure, can actually take on a life of its own, like an evanescent life. That house was built in 1736, only 100 years after Roger Williams founded the city of Providence. And enough people live and die, and births given in a house, enough transpires in a home. The house remembers. The very materials of the building kind of absorb memories through principles we don't fully understand.
Right.
But I'm not the first to come up with this idea. And I think the house remembers people. That's why some people tend to have a good experience. House likes them. I always have. Even during the last 2 years of it going there, people who come there with a negative attitude say, "Oh, we want to stir up the spirits. We want to get scared." They'll have
Yeah.
a bad experience. They'll get sick or be. A couple was there just a few months ago. They'd paid $300 to spend a night there. They were there less than the Conjuring house, the house on Round Top. They were there less than half an hour, and they left. They just left. They
Yeah.
went down to the basement, came up, and left.
Wow.
I don't know what they experienced. We'll never know. They don't want to talk about it, I'm sure. No.
Yeah, and you revisited that house 40 years later.
Yep. I'll tell you what happened. I don't know. Well, I had been in it a couple of times before the advent of Jennifer and Corey Heinzen acquiring the house. I'd been in there a couple of times as the guest of Norma Sutcliffe. Norma and Jerry owned the house for a time. And my brother and I and his wife Sandra and some of his team returned to do a follow-up investigation, unimpeded by the Warrens, and got results.
Mhm.
Nothing earth-shaking, but we got a lot more when we first went there. But my brother got 2 significant EVP, electronic voice phenomena, where a voice, usually with a message, is imprinted on an audio recording.
Mhm.
So my brother was on the stairwell. He gets this voice that's just neither male nor female, and it says, "We're still here." No, he's got it. He's got the recording. You just
That's
have to
crazy.
accept
That's
my veracity
hilarious.
on it. That's right. And I made a joke. I'm always joking at cases to lighten the mood. And Norma Sutcliffe said that we were there with Russ Bursett. She said he was down in the basement probing around, and she said, "Where's your other investigator?" I said, "Oh, he's downstairs in the corner relieving himself." I said it's dead pants. So she's like, "What?" I said, no. And we play back the recording. He's downstairs relieving himself, and you hear a voice, a disembodied voice says, "Don't lie."
Oh, wow.
So something's aware of us. This is not just residual. This is
Yes, this is
reactive.
an intelligent
Right,
haunting.
Right.
An
wow.
intelligent haunting. Yeah. So not earth-shaking, but certainly interesting. No.
Wow.
And when I came back there in 2019, in June, Corey and Jen, the Heinzens, had just placed the closing on the house, and we came to help them, celebrate. So, which was just a visit.
Right.
I was there with Elise Gianmarco Carlson, who's the director of my research unit, Panorama Paranormal. It's a team of 2, and I can't say enough good about Elise. She's a brainy chick, and she's the president of Johnston Historical Society. I'm coming to you from the headquarters of Johnston Historical Society. But anyway, I brought Elise over there, and I introduced her to Jen and Corey Heinzen. And I'm walking around the house. I'm saying, this is not that much different. the rooms are a little rearranged, but now this is a parlor, not a dining room. But I remember this room. I remember how the kitchen was. Looks like the same kitchen table, and it is.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there's a mirror about 2 feet by 2 feet, very square mirror. And I said, I think that's the same mirror that was here when the parents had this house. It was certainly here when Norma was. I think that's the original mirror. They just kept it there. So I went up and looked in the mirror. I said, I haven't seen my reflection in this mirror in 40 years. It's actually like 46 years at that time. And I looked in that mirror, and I'm alone in the room at this point. And I saw myself as I looked when I was 18 years of age.
Whoa.
Oh God.
I don't have a lot of things like that overt happen to me. I don't think I'm especially psychically gifted, not all the time, but I look at my reflection. I'm 18 again. Oh, I had my modern red polo shirt on.
Right.
And my reflection was moving as I was. I tried that. It sees me. But I had shoulder length, dark blonde hair. I had sideburns. It was the 1970s.
Right.
The girls had sideburns back then. And I'm looking, and I'm just like, better looking.
Younger.
Oh my God, what an experience. This isn't like a photograph. I'm looking at it. And I started to say, Jen, Corey, Elise, nah, if they come in, they're not going to see anything. I just know it's going to be gone by the time they get in here. So what I did was I memorized this. I said, this is not an hallucination. I will know this really happened. It's not a trick of the light.
Right.
I'm observing it. I'm objectifying it. And I'm going to remember this is real. I was there about 3 minutes looking at that. Moved out of frame, went back in.
Wow.
It's true. I'm seeing myself when I was 18.
That's amazing.
Wow.
Can you imagine the experience when I went into the bathroom? They have a full-length mirror there. Like, oh no, it didn't last, did it? I mean, more than a movie to actually see a reflection like that. It hasn't happened since. Other people have tried that. Yeah. You see what I was looking at?
Yeah.
How about that, huh?
Hey, Garrett.
You classy guy.
You're hip.
No wonder I was smiling. Yeah. Well, I wasn't smiling when I was looking at the reflection. I was just astonished. And
did it scare you at all, or is it just like, wow, this is just amazing that I'm seeing myself as a.
I was just, I was amazed, and I memorized it. I was trying to analyze it, but I said, is anything to do with the lighting coming in, the sunlight from the window? No, I can see myself clearly. Mike Ricksecker is a paranormal investigator and a prolific author, talk show host on his own. And Mike was up visiting me September of 2020. And he tried to look in that mirror. He said he saw his features start to blur and distort, but he didn't turn young. Something was happening. He was shifting, like he was kind of going, his reflection looked like he was going out of reality. And in that same room, that's where Carolyn Perrin had a unique experience, one of many. Carolyn walked into that room and saw two men seated at a table, like a regular lounge table, and they had pewter tankards and they were dressed in old-fashioned clothes.
Oh, how cool!
They looked at Mrs. Perrin. They saw her. They looked at her with awareness, astonishment, and she looked at them. So for a brief period, Carolyn Perrin was the ghost to those observers.
Right.
I think.
Yeah.
Right.
So they must have thought, what is this nearly naked woman doing here? Because I'm sure she had shorts on and a tank top. And this woman, where is she? Where did she come from? She probably just vanished. It was a time slippage, time displacement. Don't understand how it happens.
There is something strange about mirrors because you hear weird stories like that, and also you hear people
discount them all, really.
Yeah, the Bloody Mary thing. Look at them,
Yes.
that game. It's always having to do with mirrors, but that's awesome. So Carl, what was the most frightening? Did you have anything frightening happen to you when you was in a parent's house, or was it all just pretty much, just regular kind of haunting?
I'd say unsettling. Yeah, a little frightening.
Okay.
When we first went there, we began the interview process. Donna, Keith, and I were conducting the interview with Mrs. Perrin. Roger was getting ready to go out, and some of the girls were there. And we're asking questions about when they first noticed this, and we're getting some interesting revelations from them. Now, while we're talking and listening, I heard shuffling around coming from upstairs. There were girls' bedrooms upstairs.
Mm-hmm.
And I hear it again and again. And I said, excuse me, Mrs. Perrin, do you have company? Like upstairs? And the girls, and she said, no, we hear that almost every day. It's nobody up there.
Wow.
And you'd hear, hear another bump or something, or another footfall. So when the interview resumed, I kind of made my way back. I snuck out and I wanted to go upstairs, see what this was. So I go up the stairs. It's mid-afternoon, and there's something of a hallway where the girls' bedroom doors converge. So I'm looking in one of the bedrooms, trying not to be too nosy, but I heard the footsteps and the noise, and it stopped when I went up there. Out of my right side peripheral vision, I saw coming at me something dark. I say dark, it's like the absence of light. It was like somebody cut a hole in the fabric of reality. Just
Whoa.
nothing there. But it was so definite. When I turned, I thought we had a fire in the house. I thought it was a flash draft, a backdraft that was coming at me. I said, I'm going to smell smoke. The house is on fire. But it was rolling in a sense. That's why I thought it was, smoke. Comes at me, envelops me, and then it's gone. I just about had time to close my eyes. This is all of like 3 seconds at most. So this darkness comes at me. It's gone.
Wow.
So I waited a minute, didn't come back. I went downstairs. On the stairwell, I gave my brother the twin look, like, something's up. You're going to see it later. So then I was the first one down to the basement. That's where the light failed, the light bulb, the single light bulb they had. Then this went on. Oh, shoot, but I was able to see my way out. It was just interesting that the light went off in that house. And we were brought upstairs to the biggest girl's bedroom. Two of them shared it, Andrea and one of the other ones. And there was a window ajar. When I was sneaking around up there, I tried to shut that window, just, see, I wonder why they have this open, because in that room, it was like an icebox. This was mid-August.
Right.
The rest of the house was sweltering, but, that room was cold. I said, what the heck is doing that? And then, Roger came in when we went back up there, and he said, no, I can't shut that. He tried it again. It won't shut. Something's got it jammed. I said, I noticed it's unusually cold there. He said, yeah, I have noticed that. A goosebump cold. And my brother tried an experiment with, he employed provocation, mild provocation. He recited a biblical psalm, the 23rd Psalm, and then he invoked the name of Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
And when he said Jesus, that window, I don't know, just good timing, window slammed shut.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, good timing or not, it was amazing. And
that's very amazing.
Yeah. One of the girls, I think it was Judith, she had welts on her face, like 3 striations. It looked like she'd been slapped. So, we got our dime's worth there that day. It's,
Wow.
wow, we really experienced the paranormal. It's not like anybody levitated or something, but we had enough to convince us that there was a haunt there. And we said we'd be back. Yeah.
I was going to say, I remember watching you and Zach Baggins
Yes,
investigating, and someone had said something about, hey, it looks like the door's been put on upside down. Now, I don't know if you noticed, Carl, but if I've got the same door in my bedroom, if you flip it up, it becomes an upside down cross. Did you look at that?
I know which one you mean. Yeah.
Yeah, it was that door that was in the back. You were upstairs. It was towards the back, and somebody mentioned, hey, it looks like the doors have been put on upside down, and it looked like an upside down cross on there. Now, whether it was done intentionally or just it was a, coincidence.
I looked at it. It didn't look like it had, looking at the side, didn't look like it had originally been the other way, but it could have been,
Right.
Were these very superstitious people that lived there. The original family was the Richardsons, I believe, and the successive families after that. The Arnold family was prominent there. And I almost said the Addams family, the Arnold family, yeah. And, eventually came into the hands of the parents. And I don't know. There's no really strange experiences reported there. Nobody wrote in a journal, haunted. I'm sure
Right.
they had their things happen. But that poppycock about Bathsheba Thayer Sherman having lived in the house and
Yeah.
sacrificing children, she was the demon witch. Absolutely not.
Yeah, it's
She didn't reside
nonsense.
in that house. She might have stayed there.
I
She was
did
a
some
neighbor.
I did some research. Bathsheba
Yep.
actually, the Warrens made it sound like she hung herself outside in front of the house.
Ah, no.
Actually, she died from a stroke.
Yeah.
And not even in the home. So
No.
it
No, I
was,
know what you're saying.
yeah. So
There were two women named Arnold who died not on the property, but near. Well, actually, a young man had died in that house. He took his life. So there's something
mhm,
there. Some sources say he drank horse liniment, some patina, paint stain, but he did kill himself. That does happen sometimes.
sure.
But the woman, no lady committed suicide there. There were two Mrs. Arnolds. One of them did hang herself, not on that property,
Right.
but she was perhaps, I think, 42 years of age. The other one, Mrs. Arnold, she was 90 and she died. But the story was that a 90-year-old woman hanged herself in the
Right.
house, and it just didn't happen that way. Didn't
Yeah.
happen at all.
Yeah, you
And
find that with most
yeah,
most of these things get so exaggerated,
you
like
know
they
who's done a lot of
take a
research in
life
this?
of their own.
Yeah, my brother has done a lot of research in the house. At least Gianmarco Carlson has conducted an in-depth research of that house, and she loves to tell the true story.
Right.
And Kenny Biddle has written about it too. So you got some people who really delve into the history. There's also something that Elise was aware of, being a historian, running a historical society. Burrillville, and this transpired, the house is in Burrillville, which is a hamlet or a village of Burrillville is Harrisville. Big place and significant to the American factory system, the industrial time. So there's a black book, the town's black book. If there was a murder or a major thievery, some loss of property or a fire, all went down in the black book of the town. They call it, it was bound in black. And if a cow died of some sickness and farmers were concerned, that went in the black book. There is no mention of Mrs. Sherman in there, Bathsheba. There's, it's just not
Right.
there. They would have, if she was suspected of anything untoward, of counterfeiting or anything, it would have been in there.
Right.
But no,
Right.
no, it's not in there.
And that's something
And
Lorraine had came up with, right?
yes,
Bathsheba was okay.
yes,
Yeah.
I was there for that. Mrs. Warren had her vision outside, and she didn't come in and say, "I've seen Bathsheba," but she told Carolyn Perrin of her vision, seeing the demon witch Bathsheba Thayer Sherman, but Bathsheba Sherman. But there are some caveats there. The Perrins, when they resided in Cumberland before then, they weren't welcome in the town. They were thought of as being weirdos because the daughter saw a ghost and the mother saw a ghost.
Mm-hmm.
They had a dog named Bathsheba who died. It was, hit by a car, and Andrea Perrin witnessed that. Also about the Bathsheba legend, our case manager, Donna, had mentioned Bathsheba Thayer Sherman. I don't think she used the maiden name, Bathsheba Sherman, to Mrs. Warren. So you got all these things coming together. Carolyn Perrin had a very upsetting dream that was like, it was sleep paralysis. She wanted to crash. This haggard woman lacking a face, kind of looked like a beehive,
Mm-hmm.
was in her room, and she was like half awake, and she saw this apparition, and it chanted something to her without words. It's, "I'll drive you out with fiery brooms. I'll drive you out with death and gloom. You'll try to flee, but it will be too late. You'll be dead." Now, that's what Carolyn Perrin reported hearing. It was her experience. Roger, she tried to wake Roger up. She couldn't wake him up, but she couldn't find her voice, to scream for him. I don't know. That's her singular experience. She was impressionable. She had a deep belief in the spirit world.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know, but yeah.
When she called you several times a day, you said, what kind of
Yeah.
things were going on? I mean, what was she saying was happening?
I was on the phone with her, and she was telling me about how the bed was moving when she slept in it, that her bed, which is now a library, their bed, hers and Roger's bed, would move. And then she called me back 30 seconds, and she said, "Carl, I'm sorry to bother you again, but I was slicing an orange on my kitchen counter, and blood came out of it.
Oh,
And it wasn't your standard blood iron. She said this red fluid seeped out of
right.
it. It was never analyzed to my knowledge, but she couldn't save it because we couldn't get back there that same day. But I did go to see Carol. We went, and a pyro team, and what a difference in a couple of weeks to see that woman. Carolyn Perrin was already slender. It might have been up to 3 weeks. Things tended to happen in 3-week increments. Carolyn had lost weight. She looked like she was 90 pounds soaking wet.
Wow.
She looked haggard. She looked easily 10 years older. It was like she stopped eating and drinking since the last time we saw her. Roger, who had been kind of diffident and skeptical, he was upset because he had woken up with scratches on his arm. I remember seeing those. So, wow, they got stuff going. So we didn't run to the phone and call Ed and Lorraine. We'd already conceived of that notion,
Right.
But Ed and Lorraine were more than happy to come there.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I don't make that a bashing against the Warrens. They did usurp our case, but they had their own methodology, and they thought it was in the wrong hands with us youngins there.
Yeah. We use 17-year-old punks, right?
Yeah, and if we had kept on, investigation probably would have continued on to the end of the year and beyond.
Right. And so I got to ask a question. I heard that Roger Perrin actually assaulted Ed and kicked him and the whole crew out of the house after that seance. Do you know of that?
That's ipso facto. That's absolutely true. Yeah.
Yeah.
What happened was it was October 30th, Devil's Night, the night before Halloween,
Yep.
at the old Perrin farm.
Mhm.
Roger Perrin comes home from his on-the-job, jewelry salesman, among other things, and trucker. Roger Perrin returns home. He finds a seance getting underway. And Ed and Lorraine Warren are there. He was already getting dubious about them. Ed and Lorraine are there. A priest. They had their priest on retainer. A psychic medium. And there's Carolyn in the middle of all this. So Lorraine Warren explained to Roger what they were doing. And he figured, well, they've already set up, so let's see what it gets. I thought it was kind of a dumb thing to do. You're trying to get to the bottom of a mystery and a virulent haunting. So what do? They go ask a spirit.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're going to get good advice from a spirit, right?
Right.
They're going to go right to the source. That's like you're putting out the fire with kerosene. And
Yeah.
so Roger let it go on. And, well, the priest, the actual ordained priest, he started to freak out. He wanted to be out of there because he'd
Yeah.
never seen anything like that before. Carolyn, well, first the medium was saying there's a dark presence here, darkness. It's Bathsheba. She's come upon us.
Yeah.
And, Mrs. Perrin started to speak. I got this secondhand. I got this from somebody who was there. Mrs. Perrin started to speak in a different tongue. I would think it's probably gibberish, but she was saying something that was unintelligible.
Mm-hmm.
And let me just shut this off. I had to put my phone on mute.
No problem. No problem.
Somebody can wait for me. That's all right. There we go. I hung up on him. Somebody important, I'm sure. And so anyway, you got this real seance scene. Things are happening there.
Yeah.
You get bangs in the walls. The room temperature dropped dramatically. Then at the climax of this exercise in spirit communication, Mrs. Perrin was flung out of her chair. Her body was tossed as if men had thrown her out of her chair.
Mm-hmm.
She went, I've heard an eyewitness description of this. She went about 9 feet through the air.
Wow.
She was lying on the floor, unconscious. They thought she died. No signs of obvious life. Well, of course, Roger ran over to his wife.
Yeah.
Bad timing on Ed Warren's part. Ed comes over, blocks his way, and says, "You must never touch the possessed."
Oh, God.
So yes, Roger had enough of that. Roger came up. He said, yeah, when Roger tells the story, he's a little more descriptive. He says, yeah, I think Ed lost that tooth. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he ordered them out. He said, that's it. no more paranormal people, no more psychic people, no more seances in this house. That's it, out. So that ruined it for all of us.
Yeah.
And so the Warrens had to leave. So it was acrimonious. And I kind of feel bad for Ed and Lorraine at that point, except it was very poor timing. You don't, I mean, the woman's in distress. We don't know what's happened to her. And he says, you must never touch the possessed. You just don't say that,
Right.
Yeah.
That's like being at a funeral, your aunt's funeral, and say, this is no time to cry.
Right. Yeah. I mean, in my opinion, from what I understand, is Roger said, hey, I don't want a seance in my house, but they went ahead and did it anyway.
Yeah, he objected at first. He was saying, again, eyewitness account, saying, no, this is, I don't want this in my house. I don't want these vibes in my house. And they said,
right.
oh, well, it could help. How is it going to help? Rid the spirit, by calling in a spirit. And
exactly. Just making it worse.
One thing Mrs. Warren would say, she's saying, you must never, ever try to contact the dead. She was doing that once a week,
Yeah, I was going to say, that's what she did.
Yeah. And again, I'm not putting anybody down. I'm just giving you like a police report of what I heard and what I saw and experienced. Right. And, I do miss Ed and Lorraine, but, they had fulfilled lives, I like to think. But that's how the paranormal investigations under the parents' time, ceased. But they always had activity going on with the women of the house and Roger as well. So it didn't cease with that. It just was handled poorly, I thought.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like. And in fact, is it Andrea? Was that one of the daughters, Andrea Perrin?
Andrea Perrin, yeah, she's the spokesperson.
She said it just made things worse. And
she's accurate about that, yes.
Yeah.
It did.
Yeah,
it upset the paranormal activity.
Right.
It reinforced the belief in it, and it opened up channels, I'm sure, and brought more stuff in, made Carolyn more susceptible. So on 3 points, it was ill-advised.
Right.
Yeah, Andrea said when she'd ran into Lorraine years and years later, and Lorraine even told her, we were just in over our heads, is what the explanation she gave her. And I thought, golly,
even the Warrens, yeah.
Now,
on the other side, if you want, I don't know if you want to hear anything about my opinion or experience with the Warrens.
Yes.
Now, my brother dragged me to see The Conjuring. I said, Keith, I don't want to see that. It's going to be fictitious, probably be frustrating. And my brother wanted the original Pyro members to come and see The Conjuring.
Okay.
I thoroughly enjoyed that movie.
Yeah.
It made me nostalgic,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I expected it to be fictionalized. But there's a scene where, respectively Patrick Wilson portraying Ed Warren, Vera Farmiga playing Lorraine Warren. If you see that movie, and especially the scene where they introduce the Warrens, they're in a lecture hall, and that's, fictitiously, that's where Carolyn Perrin first sees the Warrens.
Right.
And they're giving a lecture. You see that scene, that's like looking at Ed and Lorraine. That's how they were.
Wow.
They were charming, knowledgeable. You wanted them there. They had their stories to tell. It was their business.
Mm-hmm.
But somebody in the audience in that scene says, so you're, paranormal investigators, you're ghost hunters. What do people really call you? And Ed says, kooks. And to hear them talking amongst each other and being affectionate with each other, they look like the Warrens there. That's as close as you can get to, without seeing actual film footage of the Warrens. That's as close as you can get to a lecture given by Ed and Lorraine. That's how they were.
Right. So that must have been nostalgic for you, almost kind
Very
of
much so.
Recreating that scene for you.
Yes.
Oh,
yes, it did.
So you and I have a friend in common, Carl, Kathy Nance.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. It's how I reached out to you. You guys did a case together, which to me, when I watched, was just more terrifying than the Perrin house. And that was the Osborne case in Edmond, Oklahoma.
It was scarier than anything I experienced at Round Top at the Conjuring house.
Yeah. Let's talk about that a little bit. So the entity started out in the closet of the daughter's room, and she was hearing it call her name.
Mm-hmm.
And so go ahead and take it from there. What happened next? Did they contact you guys, or did Kathy contact you, or?
Well, it was a brother and sister, all of them family members, mother and father, son and daughter were experiencing activity in the house. And I was alerted. I knew Oklahoma Paranormal, a team there. I'd worked with them previously, and they wanted my assistance with this case because they thought it was demonic. They wanted a demonologist on the scene, so they contacted me. So for that purpose, I came to Oklahoma, and it was already unnerving because it was documented for a television episode of The Haunted.
Right.
Which is not in production currently, but you can see it on YouTube and reruns. And so it wasn't, the case wasn't designed as a television production, but it was documented as one and edited properly. And nothing was contrived for that episode. But I was told by a producer that this, we're not even sure we should do this and film it because the daughter, who's going under these fits, she and her personality changes. She knows you already. I don't know how she knows you, but she knows you. We didn't tell her Carl was coming, but she knows you. And
oh, wow.
What I heard was that when her mother called me, that the girl's mother called me, she was saying, "That's the chastiser. You're on the phone with the chastiser." And they don't even know where she got that word.
Yeah.
I mean, she wasn't a kid, but like late teens, I think at the time, early 20s. The chastiser. And they said, "We don't know how she's going to react when she sees you, Carl. So just brace yourself." Okay. If I needed to be a little on edge,
No pressure there.
Nothing like that. And so we go down there and, I got to see my friends from Oklahoma Paranormal and became acquainted with Mike Rickstecker, who looks just the same as he did. The guy won't age. That's about what kind of mirror he has, but his doesn't age. So, and Mike and I became friends and colleagues, that night, that day and night. So I get there, and everybody's nervous. The production crew, paranormal team. So, and it's kind of nervous about me, honestly. So I go in there, and there she is. I'll say name Taliesin. I don't have to use her whole name, but Taliesin is there, the daughter, and she's looking at me. What eyes that woman has! I mean, it's just, she's scary looking when she looks at it intently.
Yeah.
And she won't take her eyes off of me. We sat at the kitchen table, and I figured I got to dispel this air of tension. I got to be affable and all that. So I was talking. I said, "What a pleasure it is to be here," talking about the trip and everything. And I said, "Well, it's a pleasure now." The father looked kind of like Neil Young, the singer, and they're a musical family. Their family is a band, like a Partridge Family. And I said, "Well, I must say it's an unexpected pleasure to be able to sit down and break bread with Neil Young." If you remember Neil Young in the 1970s, he had the same, like stringy, part in the middle hair, just looked like Neil Young.
Right.
And Taliesin is looking at me like without blinking through all of this. And then she finally speaks. She said, "Are you a priest?" And I said, "No, I just play one on TV." And she didn't laugh, but that got them laughing. And I kind of won Taliesin over. I won her over, but it took some time because she knew I was there.
Yeah. So
my job was to pretend I knew what I was doing, and then it becomes real. Then I know what I'm doing, and we got to get the spirit out. Now, there is no tried. One of your questions, how do you banish your spirit? I contend there is no tried and true formula for getting rid of a spirit, especially what's assumed to be a demonic spirit. There's just, every case is individual. You can't guarantee you're going to get rid of anything. You're dealing with something invisible in most cases. So, but during it, Taliesin resisted violently, the spirit being driven from her. And she's a strong young lady. And it was a scary situation. She thrashed about. She became violent. She was in pain. It looked like, she was doubled over in pain. And I'm thinking, I hope there's nothing physically wrong with this girl, because it certainly seems like there is.
Right.
We've got to be prepared to call for emergency help if this continues. But then she went unconscious, and something lightened in the house. I said, it feels different in here. Subjective, but it felt different. And my strategy was to take this spirit, assuming the spirit is genuine, that the brother and sister were seeing and being tormented by, take that, isolate it, perform a Christian blessing in each room, drive it out, keep going towards the door, the back door, then get it out of there with holy blessings and prayer, scripture reading, commanding it to leave. Said, I remember saying, you're coming with me. I went outside. And this is, you can see it in the television episode. So the Oklahoma team and I go outside to the backyard. There is this cyclonic wind that was not predicted. I mean, it's not a tornado, but it's kind of tornadic wind.
Right.
It's picking up and accelerating. They had 2 cats that were just running around us, like lickety split, kept running around our circle. I'm yelling at this thing to leave. I said, you can't come back in here. This is not your abode. It's sealed. You are out of here. Go back to whence you came. I didn't say return to the caverns of hell. I said, you are out of here.
Right.
And I don't say go into the light. I'm not sure what the light is.
Yeah.
So we commanded it to go, and they're all assistant. Nancy is Kathy Nance, that is, because she has religious training. And by gum, we saw some. I've seen this in one other case too. We saw in the tree branches what looked like squirrel monkeys or little like gibbons, something black, like shadow ghosts, shadow person. But they were like monkeys climbing.
Oh my God.
And unfortunately, I wasn't the only one to see it. You see the monkeys? Yeah. Well, it just looked like something like climbing, like going through the branches, and it's like, we ain't looking at anything normal here. These are black things scurrying up, like 3, 4, 5 of them. I don't know, but they're in the branches. And I had to blink and make sure that this isn't some real kind of animal.
Right.
So that left me pretty depleted. I almost wish they hadn't filmed that part because it shows me sinking into the chair all exhausted.
Yeah, it looks like it took a toll on you physically.
It did, but I needed some liquid after. It worked.
Wow.
Yeah.
It worked. There was a real breakthrough moment it was a very personal experience for Taliesin and her family, and I can't reveal just what happened, but there had been a trauma in her life, and it came out then very loudly with her saying what had happened to her.
Right.
And I'm telling you, the investigating and the filming crew, the investigative team, they're backing off because she looks dangerous.
Yeah.
So I went up to her and I said, it's all right. It's all right now. It happened. It's all right. You're going to move past this. And it lifted. No, it's not, I don't think it's courage on my part so much as like somebody has to say something. We can't let this go in silence. I have to reassure her. I have to bring out the best part of me and face her and comfort her. And it was effective. Sometimes, like I said, sometimes the magic works.
That's unbelievable.
That sounds the closest to like real demon possession.
I could have taken 2 hours to tell this story. Oh yeah, if you could have seen the change in her face, it's a term we use in paranormal research, especially in demonology. Her face triangulated, became sunken in.
Wow.
It looked like she was transmuting into something, She didn't look quite human, let's put it that way.
Yeah.
I'm looking at her thinking, how much is this is of the mind? How much is of the spirit? How much is she getting invaded? Because something's really taking over her,
Yeah.
And we ended up becoming friends. I haven't kept in touch with them as much as I liked. I was on, talking with the mother like 2 months ago, but I don't contact them as much as I probably would like to, and you should. And they said they got some more paranormal activity. It's come back to some degree, but not anything like it was, not affecting the daughter.
But not dark and evil.
Right.
What it was.
That's not, and they're not seeing apparitions now, which they were before.
Yeah, I thought
that happens a lot. The children see the apparition, and then the parents start to see it. That's when I get called.
Right.
Yeah.
I thought it was
I
interesting.
remember. Yep. What's that?
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, it's all right. I'll just go on about this case.
Yeah, the daughter started having suicidal thoughts, and
Yep.
then from research you guys gathered that there was 3 people that committed suicide on and in this property. Isn't that correct?
That's the first thing we heard. Yeah, there was a hanging in there, and Mike and I were looking at the exact spot where that happened.
Uh-huh.
There was a suspected murder. I don't think they ever proved there was a murder, and there was a hanging. And I don't remember all the details, but I remember when we were conducting the research, we were uncovering one thing after the other. Like if this house wasn't haunted, it should be.
Yeah.
So just to know that so much happened in this house is got to be. It gives you a wacky feeling.
So do you think that there is a force that could actually make someone take their lives? I mean, it's what it almost sounds like. Whoever committed suicide there, then it kind of started snowballing with each person that moved into this home, the same kind of thoughts.
Not unless there's a predisposition to do so. If somebody is haunted internally, if they have a conflict that really, that severed the course of their lives, then it can. I've known that on a very personal level, somebody I was quite close to, and she was a paranormal researcher, but she had her own inner demons too. And I don't think that was when I was on the cusp of a major television series. It was in development. And when we lost her, it just stopped everything. I was not interested in going on with this kind of research anymore for a while. I had to regroup. But it seemed because we were working on another malevolent case in Coventry, Rhode Island, and it was actually a poltergeist situation, which was fascinating. But this young woman was always affected by it. She didn't seem the same, but she had a lot going on internally too. And we lost her. So I was starting to wonder, should I even be into this? Why, if it affects people to this degree? But she had dependency issues, on pharmaceuticals. And so it was just a very sad time. Went from being a very exciting and productive time to all of a sudden everything stopped because this was our friend. This was a member of our team.
Right.
She was actually the girl I was going to marry. And she
Oh,
was
wow.
16 years my junior.
Uh-huh.
And talk about not being able to see the forest for the trees. I didn't know she had this dependency, not to that degree. She
Right.
always seemed like the adult,
Right.
and around her friends. And she was a teacher, so just suddenly she was gone. Very sudden, no warning about it. I was leaving
Wow.
messages on her voicemail saying, "Are we going to do laundry today? I'm starting to get a little worried about you, And she was already gone.
Oh man.
So, and
So sorry.
this was after, some years after the Oklahoma situation, but not that long afterwards, just a few years later.
So what
So
about
you wonder why negativity breeds negativity,
yeah.
but you look at it from a distance, and it's it happens because sometimes it's a roll of the dice, and sometimes people get caught up in a dependency and they can't get out of it. They don't have the right intervention at the proper time. And naturally, I blame myself because, to some degree, because I know I could have and should have done more. But I did treat her good. But I should have known. I should have seen what was happening. But hey, something like that happens. We're going to beat up on ourselves for a while.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that was a breakage in my paranormal career, if you will.
Right.
That happened.
And another odd thing about that case, wasn't there a cat that got suddenly ill and they actually had to put it down?
Yes, and mysteriously so. But, animals die, but then it
Right.
seemed to be in tandem with what the brother and sister, Richard and Taliesin, were seeing.
Hopefully just a coincidence.
Right.
We'll never know.
Well, yeah, absolutely.
The reason that's how it became a television episode, because that was The Haunted, not A Haunting, but The Haunted. And the premise of that series was, how animals react to paranormal influence.
Right.
Because that cat mysteriously died. They had another feline that succumbed rather quickly. And so it became an episode of The Haunted.
Yeah, Kathy had contacted me because I had a haunting as well.
Kathy Nance, yes.
And she really, really helped me. She's so funny because like I was getting scratches and I had a bite mark on my thigh, or not my thigh, but my calf. I sent her a picture and I said, "Kathy, look at this." And she goes, oh, how cool. You know, I was like, no, Kathy, this
That
is
does
not cool.
sound like Kathy. Yeah, of course you'd be. Yeah, but
I
it's
was like,
not on
yeah.
you. It's
And
on
then,
me. It's cool,
yeah,
all right. I'm looking at it.
yeah, she's like, and I was like terrified, going, no, it's not cool. Get over here and then take her. And she had, bless her heart, man, she had moved to Texas. Her team originally came to my house, and I thought that they would help move this thing along. Well, at the end of the investigation, they said, yeah, we caught 3 EVPs. Your house is haunted. See you later. And they said, we're sorry. We're just here to gather evidence. We're not here to drive the thing out. And that's the whole reason I called them. And so I reached out to Kathy. A couple of years later, she had left that group because of that fact. She said, I didn't think it was right. We were going to these homes and then just leaving these poor people stuck and just telling them, yeah, your house is haunted. Have a good day.
Thanks for the info.
You know, and so Kathy, I called her, you know, my kids were getting scratch marks. I was getting scratched. Weird things was happening. And she, bless her heart, man, she drove all the way from Texas up to my house like that weekend, blessed my house, saged it, wrote prayers on all the doors. And after that, it was gone. It left, whatever it was. But she's
That
a
worked out then.
sweetheart. Yeah,
Yeah,
we
it
were
did.
lucky. And so, like, anytime anymore, like if I kind of notice something paranormal, I pay no attention to it. I just, because I think if I don't want to give it energy, I don't want to give it any fuel to rev back up. So I'll just pretend it's not there.
I think that's
and
the best approach. You know, you don't.
I do too.
You take it seriously, but not too seriously. You know, you see this, you know, whatever. It's not going to get to me. It's not going to influence my daily affairs, how I go about my normal productivity, you know. And some people are actually immune to hauntings and demons and bad influences, or, you know, or maybe on a subtle level, they can
Yeah.
be affected. It's the people who don't believe in them.
Yeah.
Because even if something happens, it's not, they don't attribute it to a demon or a ghost. And there are some people that just won't because they're not interested in the study. They don't believe in these things. So they're not going to be affected by it. It's their own safeguard.
Right.
Where somebody who is a believer may need to have a protective aura shield around them that they visualize, may
Yep.
need to consult a ghost hunter or a rather paranormal researcher. You know, somebody else would need protection, especially if they're psychically gifted. You know,
Yeah.
other people not going to bother them.
I'll share this with you. This is one other reason I had Kathy come out. I was pretty irresponsible with the ghost hunting stuff, and I
I've had my
bought
moments too. Yeah.
I bought a spirit box because everybody had them, and
A spirit box.
yes,
Okay.
And
What else
so
do you have to confess to us today?
yeah.
I mean, anything
And
else?
so I was in my garage and I knew I had something in my house. Well, this voice came over and it said, I am evil. It didn't say it menacing. It just said it very, I'm evil. And I was trying to say, you know, I was one of those guys who are trying to help cross it. I was like, no, you're not evil. You're worthy to go to the light, blah, blah, blah. So I'm laying in my bed after I close the session down. And about 15 minutes later, I feel this vibration that starts in my feet, went all the way up my body, and it was almost like I was being shaken from the inside out, but I wasn't physically moving. It was crazy. And this went on for like 30 or 40 minutes. I started praying, it went away. Now, I swear to you, this happened. The next morning, I picked up my phone. I looked, you know, I was checking my text messages. In the box where you put a text that said, I hope you slept well.
Yes.
And and then, like I said, thank God I got a hold of Kathy and she came.
Oh
And
my God.
it was my own fault though, Carl. I was being stupid. I didn't do any protection prayers, anything like that. And I did.
Well, Keith, it is good to be a little prepared. Yeah, if you can, even if
Yeah.
even if you don't know how to go about that.
Well, I found out that I tried an experiment with it. I thought, you know, I wonder if I turn the spirit box on and I don't invite anything, will anything come through this? And I just turned it on, walked through my house. I heard nothing. Soon as I said, is there any spirits here? Boom. It was, but most of them, Carl, were all help me, help us, help me, you know,
Wow.
that kind of thing. So so it just proves you've got to invite this stuff into your life, I think, is what it is.
That invitation can come in various ways too.
Yeah, absolutely. Because when you say, are there any spirits here? Well, you just welcome demonic, nice spirits, bad spirits, good, you know,
Funny
a
spirits.
whole potpourri of spirits.
Yeah.
So
I
yeah,
have my friend Christian, he has a saying. He says, "When is a seance not a seance? When you call it something else."
Yeah,
Uh,
that's true.
because in the series Paranormal State, Sergeant Ryan Buell,
Rhyme, yeah.
all that. Every episode, they had darkened room and candles going, and that, are you here? Can you give us a sign?
Yeah.
All right, that's what you do. But that's how you want to approach it. But don't say it's not spirit communication. Don't warn other people about it.
Right.
And then do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Ryan, I see he's starting stuff back up. I've
Yep.
noticed he's done a few
More
lives.
power to him.
Yeah.
Got
Seems
his
like
act together.
seems like a good guy.
Yeah, he is. He does good, and I'd like to see him again. It's been a while.
Yeah. Well, Carl, I think, do you got any questions you have?
I've just been so fascinated.
Yeah, this has been a special treat for us, Carl, that you came on tonight. It's awesome.
Thank you.
And I do want to ask you a
stories to write.
question. If your book that you go ahead and do you have a book there you can show everybody?
I do.
Okay. You guys can get this on Amazon, and I'm going to send one to Carl with a prepaid envelope back, and he's going to sign it for me, right, Carl?
Oh, of course I will.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's see. I've got Art Bell up here on his books, and that's kind of a thing I'm into now. Is getting
Oh,
all
I'm
those
in
books.
good company then.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
That's my co-author,
Awesome.
Lana Jan Brock, with me.
Yeah, the cool thing about this book is if you're an investigator and
Yes.
there's something you don't understand, you can look up in this book, and it kind of gives you a guide of what
That's
you
so
need
cool.
to do.
I actually posted
That
a
was
picture
exactly
of that
my
on Instagram.
approach to writing this book, to give people
Yeah.
a reference. Put it in your backpack, like, let's see, is this something that Carl dealt with? Look at the chapters. I have an index with it. That was
That's
laborious
cool.
to actually create an index. And
We do have one quick question from the chat room before
Sure.
it goes.
Okay,
Oh yeah, is it about Skinwalker?
Skinwalker, yeah.
go ahead and ask it, Pammy.
We've just got somebody in the chat who wants to know if you've ever been to the Skinwalker Ranch, or if not, kind of what your thoughts are on that area.
I have not been there. There's something up there. It's, I think it has a lot to do with geography and its situation.
Mm-hmm.
There's a theory about ley lines that run across the earth, power cords, that
Mm-hmm.
are not normally visible, and they have confluences where they come together, where they join these lines, and that's your power source.
Mm-hmm.
And it even ties into UFOs. You get convergent manifestations. UFO, strange creatures walking. It's a lot of guessing, but I have to believe that there are parallel dimensions, if you will, coexisting with our own, the more obvious. And these things in certain areas under special conditions leak through. They see through to our side. And they're normal in another world, but here they're not so.
Mm-hmm.
And
That's a whole other show right there.
they've probably been around since like time immemorial, since the origins of mankind.
Yeah.
And it's a big dunno, D-U-N-N-O. You can make theories. They're interdimensional. Okay, that's a very broad, a very vague definition. There's something that exists in another realm, and they come through, and they create problems when they're around, like Mothman. There's usually some catastrophe or illness that follows, or some blight or loss of livestock. Something happens when they're seen. They're bad omens, and I think they affect their environment. I don't think that they're alien in the sense of not extraterrestrial, but ultra-terrestrial. They're a different life form that we just can't understand. To us, they look very scary and fearsome.
Yeah.
I haven't encountered one. I haven't been to the ranch, but I've talked about it and watched some of the series. So it's a power confluence.
Mm-hmm.
And
That's exactly what I think UFOs are, just interdimensional vehicles that
they come through every once in a while.
Yeah.
They seem so solid.
Yeah.
But fascinating. With the paranormal research in general, you get, for every answer you may hope to get, you've got a dozen questions, because you never fully answer them, or rarely.
That's true. That's true.
Interesting, though. Fascinating.
Yeah, absolutely. Very fascinating. Well, Pammy, is there any more? Pam's my wife. Say hi, Pam.
Hi, Pam.
Hi, Pam.
Is there
Great
any?
minds.
Is it, yeah. Is there any more questions or?
That's been the main one. A lot of interest generated about the book that Carl put up, and people are already saying they're headed to Amazon.
Yep, I saw that.
Good.
I'm anxious for you to get your copy.
I put it on Instagram as well.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
again,
you
I
guys-
didn't write it alone. My co-author is Lana Jan Brock. She's an accredited theologian.
Sweet.
And
Wonderful.
I thought it would be a nice touch to have Lana write the introduction to the book.
Cool.
Oh, fantastic.
She's such a good writer. She ended up writing half the book.
Yeah.
Well, not quite half, but close.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know? And
Yeah,
so it went from being like about 150 pages to 300, precisely 300 pages.
Yeah.
And I just heard something in back of me. I heard it probably came out in the recording, except I was speaking. I heard something moving back there. Reminiscent of the parents' house.
It followed you, Carl.
Things happen when you start talking about these topics.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
And
that's
our skinwalkers, are they related to shadow persons? Don't know. And somewhat similar.
Yeah.
wow. God, I had a
Big
question.
human
Every time I
forms.
have a question, I'm getting old, Carl. Every time I get lost in thought.
Hey, you won't catch up to me on that score. Not too soon.
But anything else there, Pammy?
No, that pretty much is it. I just think it's been a fascinating discussion, and thank you for joining us.
Yeah,
Seriously,
absolutely. This has been a real treat for me because I've been like I said, I've been watching you and Keith since Was that the first show you ever on? Was Ghost Hunters?
The first series, yes. I've done
Yeah,
television spots, like interviews. But that was Ghost Hunters. Started out at the top with Ghost Hunters, pretty much.
And then
Was
you
the
were just
beginning
all
of it.
over the place. Then I started seeing you on everything.
Mhm.
Yeah, I kept getting told. Yeah, I left Taps and the show because I felt the television show was too dominating the team and
Yeah,
our original mission. But it was a good time.
yeah.
we were
Jason
doing
looks
that. I had
grumpy.
enough of it. I'm sure I would have, if I had to do over again, I would have done a few more episodes with them if I was invited to, which I was.
Yeah.
And then I started hearing, why did you really get fired from Taps?
Oh no.
No.
Yeah, you need to get your own television show, Carl.
Mhm.
Oh yeah, I'm looking for that. I've come close a couple of times.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a unique outlook on demonology and paranormal research, so I think it would be fodder for a television show. It would be something that hasn't been done yet.
Right.
Taking a very earthy approach to. I could lose my demonology badge for some things I say, but take a more level, earthy approach to paranormal research. Make it more
Right.
real, which it is.
Right.
Show it as more real.
Well, Carl, thank you so much for being on and taking the time to talk to me and my viewers.
We really going about an hour over our time? Yeah. Close upon.
It's a little after 9. Yeah, I think we've been.
I think we need to have him on like 6 more times.
Yeah, yeah. Just clear your schedule for me, Carl. You'll be.
Yes.
Yeah, a little after 9. We've gone over our time, by an hour.
All right. Well, Carl, thank you so much. You have a wonderful night. And
Thank
so
you.
much, Carl.
and
Have me
again,
back.
this was great. Yeah, definitely have you back for sure.
Absolutely.
Maybe I'll bring company with me next time.
Yeah.
Let's do it, man.
Fantastic.
That'd be awesome. Do it.
like
Thank you
Mrs.
so
Carlson
much.
of the Johnston Historical Society, and she has her own
Oh wow.
view on things.
Do you have any
Yeah.
events coming up that you want to plug? Because
Yes, I do. Actually, we have the Warren Seekers of the Supernatural is happening Halloween weekend. That's Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. That's going to be in Waterbury, Connecticut. I don't remember the name of the hotel, but you can find it online. Warren Seekers of the Supernatural. I'll be there with my partner in duo Demonology. It's another unit with which I investigate, James Anito. And we have a lecture if somebody's in the Rhode Island area, in Harmony, Rhode Island, that it's coming up. We have a lecture happening on the 25th of October there, and there's still space there. So I mean, if memory of these outstanding events eludes one, somebody can always get in touch with me through you, Keith, or
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Facebook. I'm probably the only Carl L. Johnson in the state of Rhode Island who's listed as a demonologist.
Who's a demon?
Now, don't take a left turn and end up with my brother, because you might get my Keith. So. That's not a bad experience. That's a good experience.
Good.
Yeah.
Hey, what is Keith up to these days?
Doing basically what I do, except he's not out there in the field as much. Well, Keith is more like a grassroots person now. he goes on the personal investigations and helps people out that way.
Gotcha.
So he's accruing more and more cases and stories,
Mhm.
but he's not as obvious as am I. It's probably his own design, but yeah, he's active too. He's a demonologist. Keith is more of a fundamental demonologist. You could call him a religious demonologist, whereas I would be billed as a secular demonologist. But
Mhm.
we are very similar.
So
Just
do you
I'm
guys?
the evil twin, he's the good twin.
So do you ever go with him on any investigations or?
Rarely. That'd be
Yeah.
about once a year or so. Sometimes he'll ask me if I want to help with a blessing or something,
Yeah.
And if we can align our mutual schedules, we do so.
That's awesome.
Well, all right.
So, or I could
Well,
just come on as my brother and I could do a pretty good impression of him. Get him in all kinds of trouble.
There you go. That's right. All right. Well, hey, I'll be contacting you about where to send that book here later
Please
on.
do. I'd
And
be happy to do so.
that'd be awesome. All right. Well, Carl, you have a wonderful night, and thanks again, buddy.
Thank you.
Okay. I'll always be back when you call me.
Oh, awesome. Thank you.
Been a
Good night.
experience.
All
Good
right.
day to both of
See
you.
ya.
Good
All
evening.
right. Bye-bye.
Wow.
How cool was that? How cool was that?
There's like 15 different shows we could do with that guy.
Yeah. The interdimensional thing I would like to talk. I mean, we could do a whole show on that because that's one of my big interests. I think, like I said, I think UFOs and all, and the whole lot of ghosts. I think
Dean McMurray talked about it when I asked him about the Cecil
Mhm.
Hotel. He said, it's on a fault line, and
yeah, and it's kind of a conduit.
yeah,
It's just like there's some guy who actually trying to experiment with, you create electromagnetic field. Well, this is taking electromagnetic field times about 100. This guy made almost like an electric chair where this big, and it was this big box, right?
right.
And it's almost like lightning bolts are going through it because he was hoping that it would present a ghost. That, of course, it never did.
Right.
But
Yes.
but it's like everybody's looking at it like, yeah, it looks kind of dangerous.
Yeah.
Don't want to step into that. All right. So what did you guys think? Wasn't that awesome?
Oh my gosh.
The great Carl Johnson. That was
very informative.
Yeah. That was fun. That was
And
very fun.
he didn't. That's like the tip of the iceberg with him. All the stories
God,
he
yeah.
has.
Yeah. Hey, I need to say real quick, Susie Heath, thank you
Thank
for
you,
the super
Susie.
chat.
Thank you, Susie.
Thank you very much. I try to catch those. He was talking during that time, so I didn't want to interrupt him.
Right.
All of a sudden go, hey, super chat.
Oh.
Carl will be like, what?
Yeah.
But anyway, did you guys enjoy that show? Put a 1 in the chat box if you like that show. And it better all be 1s in there.
Dude,
No.
he
But
was awesome, man.
Yeah, and if any of you guys are ever planning to be paranormal investigators, Carl's book it's a must-have. So if you run into what you might think is a dangerous situation or something you don't understand, like Carl said, he has a glossary
That's so
or
cool.
index in the
Yeah.
back. You look it up and follow.
He's been in that situation, bro.
Right. Oh yeah. I mean, I can't even
50
imagine
years.
being a ghost hunter at 17.
I know.
Like I
50
said,
years.
I'd be like Shaggy from Scooby Doo.
Yeah,
Gain
yeah.
weight.
Yeah.
But man, he got so much experience, and especially to be in on a case like the Perrin case for that, at 17. Golly, is she okay? But okay, well, we're done here. So
Oh man.
all right,
That's
so
awesome.
next week, guys, I know we've been talking about the Ouija board. We are finally going to do that episode. That's going to be next week. The funny thing is, I was asking people about their stories, and a lot of people didn't want to come on, but the people who did want to come on were praising the Ouija board, saying it's a great communication device. You just have to be careful with it. I will bring them on and give them their say, but I'm just saying, I wouldn't mess with it. Would you, Pammy?
Not now.
No.
Not now. And especially with what we know now, the experiences we've had. I just, all it takes is to be careless one time.
Absolutely.
One time with that, if you don't close that session out, they say that portal remains open.
Nope, I'm good.
And so if you got in a hurry and you forgot to close it, you don't through. I mean, it's a gamble. It's like throwing dice. So,
Yep.
but I do want to hear what they have to say.
I do too.
I mean,
think it'd be
it's
fascinating.
not going to change my mind.
Yeah, nobody can convince me that I need a Ouija board. So,
Well, yeah.
come on and try.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and some of them were talking about, it's a great way to talk to your relatives who passed away, your friends who's passed away. I have heard that some people say, well, most people just don't use them correctly.
Till that spirit hacks your Ouija board session, and then demon in
until
your
that
house.
demon's floating above your bed. No, but I want to give them a chance to speak their mind. And also, so like I said, any of you guys watching the show, if you've had a bad experience, message me on our Facebook. I'm sure most of you
would like to talk about it.
Right. Oh, and also, guys, hit that like button. That I'm slowly learning about algorithms, and it supposedly helps the algorithm for the show to get more search engines. So everybody right now, if you can, smash the heck out of that like button.
Absolutely.
And leave a comment. Comment also has a lot to do with the algorithm of getting our show seen. Awesome. That's hard to say. Show seen.
And subscribe.
And subscribe. Yeah, exactly.
And tell your friends to subscribe.
Yep.
Yeah.
And your coworkers.
And your coworkers.
And your family.
And post about it.
And random people on the street.
Talk about it on Twitter.
Absolutely. Talk about it on Twitter. Share. So we can get this out there. Because I think this subject is an important one.
It is.
And I think it can open a lot of people's minds, and also can, like with the strict religion stuff, who people, they live in a lot of guilt, right? Mm-hmm. So I think once you open their minds to see what maybe we think it's really all about, that it's not as bad.
Right.
As what we think. And there's always forgiving yourself as well. I found it interesting. He said that, because I've noticed this too, it seems like most people who've had traumatic experiences are the ones who are tortured the most by
it shouldn't be
the supernatural. Yeah, exactly. I thought, God, that's horrible.
Yeah.
But
makes sense.
But he was also saying they can manifest that,
right,
that darkness where it's not, it sounded like to me, Carl was saying, I'm not sure that it's a fallen angel, but maybe it's more of something you've manifested unintentionally. And I'm not saying they did it to themselves, but because of something tragic that happened to them, that they brought that energy, dark energy, into them. And I think we are, like I've said a million times, we are creators. We create things. So I do think that that's a,
What came to mind for me was, in talking about manifesting is poltergeist.
Yes,
and we hear
that's a great example
all the time, that poltergeist are usually a manifestation of some underlying thing that usually an adolescent or pre-adolescent girl is dealing with. I'm sure it happens with boys as well, but it seems like it's generally tied to a female.
Yeah.
And
they're more emotional, aren't they?
Well, and
hormones, and
more likely to be victimized in certain situations.
That's very true.
And I say that, I don't know. I know that there are men out there that have been victimized probably in just as horrible ways as any woman has been. So, but I think, that we manifest that because we don't know what else to do with it.
Right.
Just like we talk about people developing multiple personality or dissociative identity disorder, whatever the PC term is,
coping.
Right now, as a coping mechanism.
Right.
And so when you start manifesting things like that get away from you, that's pretty scary stuff.
Absolutely.
Yeah. That's exactly what I think. I think that it's a big ball of energy that has been deemed dark.
Yeah, it's a coping mechanism. Is it an effective or healthy coping mechanism? No, but we all know people have lots of unhealthy coping mechanisms.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, now hang on here, Patrick. Patrick says Pam is the real MVP of the show, in my opinion.
Pat. Unbelievable.
Checks in the mail, Patrick.
Yeah. I see a band coming on Patrick there. No, I agree. I agree, Patrick. She's very knowledgeable. She adds to the show for sure. So, see, Pam, everybody misses you when you're not here.
I'm sorry. I've just got.
And she gives the what do we call it? The reason,
the voice of
the
reason.
voice,
yes.
the voice, the reason to
balancing
me and
act.
Garrett's madness.
Yeah.
I guess we say.
I don't know about that. I thought it was kind of interesting though when Carl made the statement about some people being immune to
Yes.
I don't know, possessions or hauntings or whatever. And in all the time that, Keith and I have been together and married and the kids and everything, he's experienced a ton of stuff. I've seen the after effects of that, but rarely. And honestly, I don't know that I can think, probably I can count on one hand the number of times in 20 plus years that I've experienced something.
Yeah.
And I wonder sometimes why that is.
I think I know. I think they're scared of you.
I agree.
I'm scared of you.
I think
Pam's
you're right.
Pam's a very, very strong woman.
She's a cat person. She's a cat person.
That and so the demons are like, yeah, let's fuck with Keith.
Yeah, let's go towards the weak.
He's the weak one. He's not so menacing.
Well, but I mean, like the one night we went out to just go take 15 minutes to go on a Coke date, run to Sonic, get a Coke, leave the kids at the house.
Shit. Just went crazy
by themselves for 15 minutes,
insane.
you know, and we were on our way back and the kids calling, and I mean, when we got there, I don't think Keith even had time to put the car in park till I'm out the car door in the house. You better leave my kids alone.
Yeah, the mama bear came out.
Oh,
she was
man.
very much she went in there screaming at this thing. What had happened is, I think I shared this with some of you guys, is that Pam and I, she's right, we went out for a little Coke date. We were just going to go to this gas
Not
station.
cocaine.
No, Coca-Cola. Diet Coke for me.
Like Sonic,
And that's
Sonic's a big Oklahoma thing for y'all that don't know. That's
Yeah.
an Okie thing.
Yeah, it's an Okie thing. But no, what had happened is, we no sooner we left, Dylan had a fishing pole that's hanging on his wall. It flew off the wall, and then his little guitar started playing again. And so he was crying. He was, and so it was like, God, we can't even leave the house and without this crazy thing, No. But Mama,
his sisters, and
Mama Bear came out that night.
Yeah, I told it if it could behave, it was okay for it to stay.
Yes.
But if it was going to scare my kids, it had got to go.
Yeah,
Carl needs you on his team.
Oh, I know. Okay, guys. So
Awesome show,
listen,
dude.
for real. If any of you've had a bad experience, now I've had 2 or 3 people that they're too afraid to even talk about it. And I was like, will you come on the show? And they're like, no, I don't want to talk about it.
I don't want to reopen the portal, right?
Right. So if any of you, and I think talking about it, if you're past it too, is fine, and nothing's going to happen. You learned your lesson,
Right.
and you're not going to pull it out again. So if anybody out there listening right now, if you had a bad experience, hit me on Messenger, and because I'd love to have you on the show. Even
Absolutely.
just a few minutes, because I don't want to have a show where we don't have a good balance. If I just have people saying, oh, the Ouija board's great, well, okay, but I want the other opinions from other people. I personally have never used one, so therefore I've never,
me and Larry used one, but we were like blackout drunk.
Yeah, well, that doesn't count.
Nothing happened.
There's no, that doesn't count.
You probably opened the window instead of the door.
We probably opened the portal and just left it.
Yeah, I can see you guys peeing on the board or something. Take this.
Yeah, we'll try to find some legit experiences. Right. Okay.
But anyway, guys,
great show, dude.
Yeah, great show. Thanks for showing up tonight. That was just a real treat for me.
Awesome,
as you guys could tell, I was a little giddy.
You were giddy.
I was a little giddy.
Yeah, but you almost went stalker.
Yeah. Well, I think Patrick said that in there.
Did.
It said stalker. But anyway, all right. Well,
I'm gonna get my kiddo.